good morning, and good afternoon to in-house counsel from all across America. Welcome to In-House Connect. My name is Shai Mahani. I'm the CEO and co-founder of In-House Connect, and I'm thrilled to have you here with us today. Thank you for spending your breakfast time or your lunchtime with us, and special thanks to our wonderful sponsor, ContractPodAi, and our fantastic speaker today, Jerry Levine, who's coming on to explain the value prop for AI for in-house counsel. Today's event will be a special one-on-one chat with me and Jerry, so I get to pick his brain about AI and ask some hard-hitting questions, hopefully not too hard. For those of you who are here for the first time, In-House Connect started 11 years ago as a New York City-based meetup group for in-house counsel. In fact, Jerry and I first met there all those years ago.
I think I've been a member since day one, actually, Shai.
I'm going to audit that. I have the meetup records and I'm going to double check that. But you're definitely one of the oldest members, that is not. So every month we would organize free CLE classes where, Jerry and I would get to network with each other and other in-house counsel associated by different law firms. And then we had cocktail networking receptions after. Every 6 months, we would organize fun and festive networking mixers. And over the years, we've helped thousands of in-house counsel connect with peers and outside counsel alike. The group was humming along. And then, of course, COVID hit. We couldn't meet in person, so we met online, and it's been a wonderful transition. We've been able to attract a much larger audience of in-house counsel from coast to coast, and we've been able to feature high caliber speakers like the one we have today, who I'm going to introduce in just a few minutes. And this is actually our 30th event of the year. And I'm curious, have you attended an IHC event before? Is this your first time? Let me know in the poll. And we have 42%, call it 40%, make the math easy, 40% new people and 60% returning. So hello to the 40%, welcome to the 40%, and welcome back to the 60%. All right, awesome. So this is going to be an interesting, engaging discussion, the AI value prop for in-house counsel or in-house legal departments, what in-house counsel should expect around artificial intelligence. Our speaker today is Jerry Levine. Jerry is the chief evangelist and co-general counsel at ContractPodAi. Jerry serves as an advisor to customers and the internal client voice, helping to guide global client success and shape overall product vision. As a former global general counsel and corporate secretary at IPsoft and a ContractPodAi customer himself, he successfully implemented ContractPodAi within IPsoft's legal department. Jerry also held leadership and consulting positions at both publicly and privately held company, including Axiom and LexisNexis, and he also founded a startup-focused law firm. As a leader in legal design thinking, he has been committed to helping legal professionals become awesome lawyers and strategic organizational leads to drive results and increase market share for businesses. So we are very, very, very fortunate to have the wonderful Jerry Levine on with us today.
I would love to know who wrote that, because that sounds like that's Shai. I want you to introduce me at every event now.
I could be a paid MC, in my spare time. All right, so let's get right into it. I'm gonna put you right on the hot seat. It's not sponsored by Budweiser, but I always think of the Budweiser hot seat when I think of that. So, tell us, what is AI and how does it apply to the legal department?
So, Shai, that's a really, really great question. And if I could speak properly, I would be doing much better at responding to it. But look, when we say AI, what we think about AI is such a wide variety of areas of computational, of computer science, of computer engineering, and all that. But what we look at it from the legal perspective is really how it can assist lawyers and legal professionals and allied professionals in doing their job. What we can teach a computer to make our lives as legal and contracting and compliance professionals better at what we do. There's quite a lot out there when we think about what AI is. Typically the two things you hear thrown around in any sale, in any discussion of AI, is artificial intelligence, machine learning, and then you start hearing a lot of other terms like natural language processing. But at its core basis, artificial intelligence is effectively teaching a computer to do something that humans either can do very slowly, and therefore it's time consuming and takes a lot of effort, or that humans don't really want to do. So, you had mentioned a moment ago, I used to be the GC of another AI company. And frankly, when I would get on the phone with my our customers there, and I'm the lawyer on the phone, and they've got their legal team on, and they'd say, well, what exactly does your AI product do? I would have to go and say, you know what? Imagine you had 1,000 tiny engineers living inside your computer who would automate different tasks and take care of them for you. That's, I mean, and believe it or not, that was sometimes how I had to get through what I like to think of as the law tech barrier. It's kind of like the brain blood barrier, but apparently many lawyers just have this line in their head that the minute you say anything beyond Microsoft Word, they shut down. But going a little deeper into that, it's really, from my view, it's technology that makes our jobs easier as lawyers and allied professionals, and specifically it's technology that's designed to assist, automate, or otherwise augment our capabilities as we are, which is why, Shai, I like to think of it not just as being artificial intelligence, but intelligence augmentation, or sometimes I'll say augmented intelligence, the other kind of AI.
Got it. So like the $69 million man, right? We can make you better, faster, stronger. I definitely butchered the title, but I think it was an Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I think it's the $6 million man.
$6 man, yeah.
And he can throw baseballs, and then the baseball goes 70 miles an hour without him, just by a touch. But that's really what it is. If we can make I think inflation has taken a little bit of a toll, so we'll go with the $60 million lawyer. But let's think of it like, at the most basic level, we don't always say this, think about it like this, but at the most basic level, AI is really the most basic kind of AI that people use is automation, teaching the computer to do a step without human interaction. And after that, and that's oftentimes the most basic legal technology that in-house teams and law firms put in, is document came in, let's have it automatically tagged, or we generate it automatically. But there's so much more out there that we can do. And I think sorry, go ahead.
No. I kind of want to, so a couple of things. Can you share some practical applications of AI tech that are being deployed in, legal departments now? And folks in the audience, feel free to share in the chat. Are you using AI? And if so, what are you using it for? That would be very helpful. So I guess, I personally don't use AI in anything. I've seen it around. I think the closest my legal department comes to is in automating billing and invoicing from law firms, that whole thing. But other than that, like, we haven't, so far as I'm aware, leveraged AI for documents or redlining or, any of the other wonderful things that apparently is possible with AI. So tell us in the chat how you're using AI, and Jerry, please tell us in many ways, legal departments are leveraging AI.
Sure. Well, Shai, the opportunity is always open for you and your company to join the ContractPodAi family.
Right.
And I think what I typically see, and my initial need. So you had mentioned earlier that I was a ContractPodAi customer, which is true. Until early last year, I was the GC at another company. And being an AI company, when I went out to buy a tool, I said, what do I need to have happen? What's my most difficult task I have? I had a 7-person, 8-person department. And my paralegal decided she wanted to go to law school. And I said, this is a bad idea, but if you're gonna do this, what can we do? What is something in your job that you wish you didn't have to do? And I was, my company did conversational AI for IT management. So I really didn't know how much was out there in the legal AI space. But the number one thing she hated, and the number one thing my entire team hated, was extracting and abstracting contracts after they were completed. So that was my key use case in 2018 when I went and said, I need a solution for this.
So wait, what do you mean by that exactly?
Right. So for me, that use case is, if you give me a contract and I'm in the process of negotiating it or reviewing it, or even if it's the final signed copy, what can I do to expedite getting the information in that contract out of the contract? And that was something that was very key in my purchasing process. I don't want to waste my team's time with having to go through and pull out and put into another system the limitation of liability, the governing law, assignment clauses, all of that. I wanted a system that could do it without needing to have things tagged specifically. And when I say tagged, there are, many more traditional systems. You would go in and put a note in the system or something that paragraph 19 is your assignment clause. And now the system might be able to go and say, okay, when you upload it again, paragraph 19, that's the assignment clause. Or you might do it by hand. You might have a sheet, an Excel spreadsheet that you would go and say assignment clause, section 24, assignment, we can assign with consent, they can assign on merger acquisition only. Well, why waste a lawyer's time? Why waste the time that we're doing that if a computer can do it by being trained on hundreds and thousands of other similar clauses, so that now when it looks at it, it says, yeah, that's an assignment clause. You got it. And then you go through and boom, you get a sheet that has 10, 15, 20 of your key terms automatically extracted. And that was already 4 years ago in legal terms and technology, in tech terms, that's a lifetime already.
That seems
go
to
ahead.
be the same thing that Lakshay is mentioning in the chat. So, CLM
Yeah.
basically.
And that's exactly why I chose ContractPodAi at the time, was that we uploaded tons of contracts. It pulled out the information we needed to know. And for those of you who have been tasked with cost savings, I will tell you my cost savings was an immediate $500,000 savings when we learned that finance had stopped billing something, but we kept providing the service because finance never told finance, who was supposed to go ahead and tell the other teams that the contract had expired. They never went ahead and said, hey, we're not paying for this. We're not being paid for this. So now now you should stop working. But within a few weeks, we discovered a $500,000 savings. We were able to automate quite a bit of the document creation. And, nowadays, Shai, it's so different. We can do automated redlining. There's machine assisted translation all built into the platform. Extraction and analysis is still a big part, as is risk management, which is something that we think about is really cool. We can actually take your playbook, and sorry, I know I'm selling a bit right now. We can actually take terms and look at them and say, hey, this is risky. You've said that this is a big issue for you, so let's flag it as a risk so that you can mitigate it. There's a ton more technology within the platform, but from the core perspective of what is AI, it's an assistive tool. We're helping you get that data, what you should be using it for, and telling you, here's what that data is, here's where it's found, here's the next steps you can do with it.
I want to run a poll and pick the audience's brain. Question is, what do you think is the most important benefit of AI-driven legal tech? And while the audience is answering the poll, I wanted to ask you, what are some of the practical applications of AI technology or AI legal technology that are overlooked? My question is, what are some of the practical applications of AI legal tech that are overlooked by legal departments? So I think, document extraction or key terms extraction is well known. I think the contract redlining is interesting. I think that's still being adopted. It seems like invoicing, legal invoicing, if my legal department's handling is already up to speed with that, maybe, many others are as well. Are there any untold AI benefits that legal departments aren't aware of or that are being overlooked?
Yeah, I think the one that I just mentioned a moment ago, the one that we've been experimenting with and having really interesting response to is risk management. Yeah, and Jackie, my good friend, and I'm very fond of her, I think she's got another area that's coming up big. There's actually been a recent merger between a automated timekeeping company. I think yesterday one of the timekeeping companies merged into a legal billing company. But as far as contracts go and where that goes, what we've had the most requests for are these risk management tools. Can you identify when something's going to be a problem? Can you pull in other information from across the universe? We live in a connected world. All this information is there. What can we do with it to bring it together and make it work faster, better, stronger? All the stuff that who's the singer? Daft Punk, I guess. Build better, faster, stronger. All of this is stuff that can be done. But I think the core, true, immediate need that we get a lot of questions on is this idea of how do we make risk management better? How do we identify things before they become a problem? How do we pull in other information and make it easier? The other half, I think, is the more automation we can do, and which is why workflow has become such a big keyword at ContractPodAi, is looking at where systems connect and figuring out where data can be shared internally, not talking about GDPR style data sharing, but where this information comes from. I think we're also beginning to see a big move towards, I would go with IP management and corporate governance, predictive analytics, seeing what could be filed next, what might happen if a change is made. Now, that's still a little bit farther out, but we're beginning to see that there's a lot of areas that we can connect information, pull in information, and then deliver important information, deliver better data, better, more usable data to the legal teams. But I think the other half is, I want to make you look as, and one of the things I always tell our customers, and I tell everyone I speak with, is I want to make you look good. I want you to be seen as a superhero to the rest of your team. So the core thing that I want to achieve with AI and this value, then the value proposition is not just cost savings, not just time savings, but reputational benefit. If we can make you look good, you managed to do this, you managed to review the contract in 25 minutes, even though this used to take you 3 days. Obviously I don't want anyone to get the idea that everything will be done in 25 minutes, but all of a sudden you look amazing because a computer is helping you build these answers. It's giving you those solutions and you're getting out of the way so that the business folks feel, wow, what a great legal team. What an impressive turnaround. What a great cycle. How easy was that for you? So I think at its core, the number one feature we never think about when we're talking about AI is not the tech benefit, but it's almost this reputational benefit for legal teams, getting it right, getting it done faster, and making your team look better.
Yeah. That's great insight. I want to mention our poll. It looks like the number one by far is speed. Well, that's the most important benefit of AI-driven tech, and that makes a lot of sense. Value is next. Risk, I think you just touched on, is 13%. Perhaps people aren't so familiar with the benefits of how AI can assist in risk or risk management. But perhaps that's the next frontier. So I had a question, and shout out to Jackie. She's also providing some, her second comment, prior art searching is a huge help. If we can do an AI prior art search or assisted search, that would cut down time and help in accuracy and all
right.
that.
And there are, we work with companies that do it, Shai, but there are companies that do AI-based prior art searching. And it's just, some of these things are things that we don't think about. If you're, prior art searching, if you're not a patent attorney, you're probably not thinking about what can be done with that to make it better. But it's coming, being able to, now, there's a whole different story we can have about whether AIs can invent things. There's a whole different argument there that's being held all over the world. But having a system that can recognize and say, hey, this seems like we've got millions of patents in the system. And again, working on this, it's not, but there are companies out there that have this access to these patent databases, millions of patents. We've got this information. What can we do to pull this information out and make it usable? And how does this make sense for the user? How does this make sense for patent attorneys? How does it help you do that better? I'm a little more focused on the ContractPodAi side. I think we're more focused on building that extraction of data and telling you what's in your set of patents and trademarks. But I think the next frontier of that is having AI suggest, you were looking for something that fit these claims, but we found this claim that seems to be similar. Imagine a Google search where we think you were looking for this, but maybe this also makes sense for you to search for. Maybe this is also tied in, and that's still coming. I think we're going to get there eventually. I don't think it's going to be next month. I think it'll be within the next couple of years, just because there's such a vast corpus of patent documentation and trademark documentation out there.
Yeah, I was wondering, you mentioned, reputational benefit, and I have this idea if ContractPod and there are other, if we apply AI to a vast number of contracts, right? Let's say, we aggregate this information. Do you ever think like the aggregated data of legal departments across the country, across the world are ever going to be like analyzed? So you can say, hey, you're below market or you're above market, your limitation liability clauses, definitely some confidentiality concerns, but I'm curious, like that I think is a big game changer. I know in the legal invoicing, legal billing sector, we'll call it, you can compare rates, you can compare like associate this level with associate that level. There's a ton of data being brought to bear in that realm. I'm curious, is that going to come to the contracts space?
Yes. Without a doubt, it will be there. And there's already quite a bit going on there with publicly available contracts. And Jackie is beating me to the punch. So I'm just going to read what Jackie says from now on. But yes, there's quite a bit out there already going on with people pulling documents from Edgar and SEC filings, from filings with the UK regulators, from filings with Australian regulators. There's projects in non-English speaking countries as well. But all this training, I'm like about to say something, and Jackie is beating me. So the training data can be there, where there's difficulty too, because Jackie clearly has been. I think she was listening in earlier. Just so you know, before this call, I was having a call talking about Spock changing. Originally, it was a Vulcan like chop to the back of the neck, and Leonard Nimoy thought that would be improper. And that's when it became the Vulcan neck pinch or whatever it is. I will also take that Vulcan mind meld, my mind to your mind to my mind. Too much Star Trek in my youth, but yeah, that is coming up, and I do think there's this idea of let's get the data in, and there's been quite a bit of analysis on this, and where we're working to, along with our new risk tools, we've launched a new update to our playbooking platform and analysis platform. And the goal is to get more of that what's market information in, so that we can better provide insight to the customer that, hey, when this comes back, this is this really something that's in the market? Is everyone doing, this clause, or is this something they're just trying to pull the wool over your eyes? And it's one of those things that's really going to be coming fast. I think that's something where we're seeing that, we're getting asked about this. And how do you get that information in? How do you make it usable? And how do you make it usable for different types of enterprises, different types of organizations? Because what a cable company or telecom wants in terms of what they believe is market is going to be completely different than, say, a small or mid-size, social media company.
Right.
And so there is quite a lot of data there to sift through. There's quite a lot of information to pull down. There are several ways to get it, whether it's Edgar and that, whether it's services like, whether there's services like Recap, which is the Pacer the free Pacer site for those of you who are litigators. Recap pulls information down and makes it available. When someone submits a contract in the Pacer and they also have Recap running, it will pull that out and tell you, hey, there's a new contract, and you can get that into different things. But yeah, that is coming, and if it's nearly there. We're at a point where I think at ContractPodAi, we're able to tell you, as opposed to your precedent, hey, have you accepted this before? You've accepted this 97% of the time. Maybe this should be your standard.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the real interesting stuff comes from, not just what's looking at what is in the market, but also where you've accepted things over and over. And maybe, while that is your standard, if it's only be accepted 3% of the time and you're negotiating it away every time, maybe it shouldn't be your standard anymore. Maybe you should start looking at why it's always being negotiated away. Okay, well, it's too one-sided. We always agree to it. Let's just agree to it in the first place, not even bother expedite the review process because we don't have to negotiate it anymore.
It's interesting. I had this funny thought that, when you get in a red line and you put it into ContractPodAi or whatever, and you press a button, it could say, are these edits reasonable? Are they not? Like a reasonableness score. Well, I totally see it happening.
You should come get another demo, Shai. I'm telling you. So when there's a feature we have called contract risk and compliance, and I don't want to delve too deep into this, but we did somewhat of a demo the last time I was on with Netta at talking about redlining. But what we now do is tell you how close it is to your preferred language. Are you tracking this? Are you tracking that? And is it available? I think if that's Mike Denker, another friend of mine, I think if it's the same Mike Denker, hi Mike, that's true. The types of clauses also differ depending on the type of deal. So what we do at ContractPod is we look at it and we say, what kind of contract is this? Is this a non-disclosure agreement? Is this an MSA? Is this a purchase agreement? Because you will have, and you and I know this, you will have different clauses, different terms you're willing to accept, depending on the different type of deal, depending on the different type of engagement, depending on what you're doing. That all changes. But going back to your point, we're starting to look at that. How much does it differ from what you're willing to accept? How risky has this been in the past? And that's really, I think, where we're going, so that you as a lawyer don't have to sit down and go, okay, have we accepted this before? Let me search SharePoint or OneDrive or my email for copies for these clauses, and maybe we'll see if we've done it before. That's just not tenable. That's not feasible when you have more than a few contracts a year.
Yeah. So I want to switch gears a little bit. Really interesting stuff on the horizon. But I want to talk about, the here and now. So this is a two-parter question. Why do you think AI remains understood or underappreciated by legal departments? And what steps should lawyers advocating for AI or for legal tech, take to make the case that, their company should make the investment, bring AI on?
So I think, is it overlooked or feared? I think is the first question. And I think, so Shai, do you want me to answer what are they overlooking or what are people fearing part of that question almost?
Let's see, what do you think people are fearing?
I think the number one fear is the same fear we've heard for hundreds of years. Will this replace me? Will I still be needed? Will I still have a job? Will especially in law firms that bill hourly, will we be able to bill as much? Focusing on the in-house side, though, I always point out none of this is a replacement. It's as happy as I am, as proud of what I am here of what we've done at ContractPodAi. Nothing here no legal technology is ever going to replace the legal team. It's not. The goal of all these technologies is what I said earlier, to make you look good, to assist you, to augment what you're doing. It's not to get rid of someone. It's not to eliminate a position. It's not to remove capabilities, remove human beings. It's really there. And I think the big fear that everyone has is, will I still be needed? And the answer is yes. Because humans, we're not going anywhere, or at least we're not going anywhere due to this technology. What it is there, though, is to make you work better, to make you do that. And AI is really a tool. You know, if you have a hammer, yeah, there we go. The chat is going faster than I can go through my own brain. You know, this is really good. Yeah. If you have a hammer, you know, you're going to want to hammer things. But if you can replace that hammer with something that makes you more efficient in hammering, you know, you could look at AI as a nail gun. It does the job. It's faster. You may be able to do what used to be a 2-day review in a few hours. It is not getting rid of the person. It is not removing that human element, because it doesn't have judgment. No matter how much we program it, it's still there and relying on the human to use judgment as you're doing it. So from that replacement idea, it's not replacing anyone. It's a task replacer. It's an automation tool. It's a service assistance tool. It helps you save time. It helps you make better decisions. It doesn't get you out of the decision-making process. The correlation, I think I do want to say, Dave, I don't think that's quite correct. It's not quite dummy robots, because the AI can learn, but it's not yet a human learning. It's able to tell you, the example I like to give is AIs are really good at taking data and connecting dots between data, but it's not really good. It's really, really good at processing data, really good at doing that. The human is needed to draw that connection once that information is there. I can tell you that this clause, if it tells you this clause is achieved 97% of the time, you choose the mutual. Well, now the human has to go and say, well, you know, maybe that makes sense. Maybe we should use the mutual more often. So I like that. The saw plus AI is power saw.
Yeah.
Hammer plus AI is nail gun.
It's not going to pass it. Thank you, Dave, for your comments. Dave, a good friend of mine, Roma and Lakshay. I'm wondering, is this a good time for a poll about myths or the financial recoupment? Do you want to talk about? I think personally, I'm going to shape this discussion a little bit. I'll tell you, a couple of years ago, I was worried that AI was going to replace, humans, and then, or at least, put me out of a job. And then, this is really dumb, but I look at my Roomba. I don't have a Roomba. I have like a replacement brand Roomba, and it's dumb. It's very dumb. A little bit of cords can trip it up. So I got over my fear of robots and AI. What I think people are worried about is the financial investment. I think that's what the issue is. It's going into the board or procurement or finance and saying, I need X millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars or thousands of dollars, right? To bring on an AI system, to bring in a CLM, to bring in whatever it is. That's what I think is the issue. Wait, do you want to talk about, the value of integrating AI, the costs? I can run a poll, as far as the financial investment. Should I do that, Jerry? Poll people?
Yeah. Let's do the poll, but I also want to go while that poll is running, and I'd love to see the answers there. Of course, there's a cost. There's been a cost to every change we make. I don't like to think of it like that, though. I like to think of it, as you said, Shai, with the idea of the value proposition. If I can if I can discover something that saves $10,000 a month, does that offset the cost of the product? If I can save $500,000, if I can save $500,000 because all of a sudden, my story earlier, we're not billing this customer, oh, well, why are we giving them services? So when I like to think about what the value of it is, I like to think of it in terms of the human time saved. If I can go home earlier, if I don't have to stay till 9 p.m. every night, which is why we all went in-house, isn't it? We didn't want to be working to midnight, 1, 2 in the morning. We wanted to be happy in our lives. It's that value. It's getting rid of those automated things that we were doing anyway. Even if we didn't have them automated by a computer, they were effectively automated tasks, because we would go and we would say, okay, let me look at the NDA. Yes, this is our form. Okay, there are no changes. Let me send it. Let me walk it down to this office for signature. We've gotten rid of that. And that was just e-signature platforms. Now what we're looking at is extracting the data, giving you insight into your thing, into your information, giving you better ways to work with those documents, learning what's in them, and ultimately saying, hey, these are things that can be improved. This is where we found a savings. And we usually see that sort of savings within a few months, if not a few weeks of going live. There was something interesting that there's been a few things that have come up in the chat. Jackie's right. There was actually a big thing that happened a few years ago where one of the AI companies that said they had AI was just sending their documents to India and Israel to be run through an AI, which was a group of Israeli and Indian attorneys. It's not an artificial intelligence. It was offshoring by a different name. Yeah, I mean, and Roma's right as well. Not all AI is AI. I tend to think of AI as being a subset of all these things: expert systems, automation, machine learning, natural language processing. But when you go down, there's different concepts. Is it cognitive computing? Is it neural networks that's driving it? What is actually doing it? And how are they working? But I think ultimately, when you look at the big picture of AI, anything that frees you up to work on higher value tasks and can do it with limited or no human intervention is the basic level of AI. Now, again, automation, when we talk about it, most people think of it as part of AI. It is a very basic level of artificial intelligence. You're teaching a system to do steps based on a series of workflow suggestions. It's not Turing complete, as Jackie, I think, mentioned the Turing test earlier. But most of these companies, Jackie, stop it. I was about to.
Jackie,
I was about
on this panel.
I was about to go. Robotic process automation is a form of AI, and it's these tasks. Here's a decision tree. Here's what we're going to do if this task occurs, if this thing occurs. And by the way, I see the poll is still up. The average time to recover the technology, I believe we reviewed this last year. We keep looking at it. I believe the average time, the mean, not the mode or the median, the mean time is 2.4 years. Most tech investments actually take anywhere from 5 to 10 years to see the true value recovery. But we're seeing it, at least for our clients, across the industry, across the legal technology industry, 2.4 years. For some of our clients, we're seeing it within months and weeks, not years. So I do like to say that. I would say that on average, I do think that 1 to 2 year range is where we see the bulk of our customers come back and say, wow, we've saved so much time. We managed to do a deal. We spotted this earlier because we knew it was coming. And so that's something I'm really proud of, that we're able to make those decisions, make that information show up in a quicker, faster, better area.
Yeah, it's all about the financial, the use case, the value prop as we're talking about now. So I want to we have let's say we have till like 105 to continue to talk. So I want to talk about a few things.
Shai, wait, you put this on my calendar till 4.
I did, but not everybody else. That's you and I are just going to catch up afterwards. What about so a couple of things. Can you give us some insights on, let's say you integrate an AI or you anticipate integrating an AI. Can you like demonstrate how much time, the legal department is actually saved, by drawing it out? Like, you know what I mean? Like you take the data and say it would have taken us 20 hours to compile this. So, that's 20 hours saved. That's one thing. And two, what about the other, like, can you make the pitch to the other not other legal departments, but other, organizational departments that this makes sense to have? It seems like we talked about finance, they missed a customer. That could be very helpful. I wonder if there are other departments that would, ally with this initiative.
Yeah. So Shai, I think one of the first things you brought up is the value and time savings. And, during the pandemic, most people expected that deal making would slow down. And again, to those of you, I'm not saying the pandemic's over. I'm just saying that during the initial part of the pandemic, World CC, World Commerce and Contracting, reported that there was a 13% increase in average cycle time to reach contract signature. But that's because of negotiation, whether you couldn't get together as easily, whether being across from people in video rather than at a table was changing things. But also I think there was this idea that, now let's take a deeper look. I'm working remotely. I need to make sure I do things correctly. So there was this slowdown, but companies that implemented AI at the same time saw an 80% up to an 80% decrease in their cycle time because they're able to get that information on a quicker basis. I think you have this. We're also able to integrate with more of the systems that the rest of the organization is going through. So if your organization uses Salesforce, well, how do we get that information? Into ContractPodAi or back around. Okay, well, we integrate that with their API. Now the data is flowing freely. So the sales team never needs to feel like they have to use a legal tool. Finance maybe in Workday or PeopleSoft, or maybe HR is in Workday and PeopleSoft. Well, again, integrations, that information now flows back and forth so that when, if you're a ContractPodAi customer and we tell you, and our system says, hey, we've noticed the expiration date is July 31st, 2023, boom, that expiration date is not just flowing into legal now, or not just sitting on Shai's desk in finance. Sorry, Shai, I just demoted you to finance person. But it's now going between those systems. So it's not just about AI, it's about integration. It's about catching this information and bringing it to the forefront so that everybody has access to it. And I think the fact is, McKinsey, I'm going to drop some names now. McKinsey thinks that 25% of legal work will be automated by, I think, 2025. Which, we're seeing that because a lot of the tasks we do are these really boring tasks. I don't want to sit there and file things. I want it to be done easily. Dave is reporting, he built a robot, a basic, most likely a workflow tool or an RPA that enters a monthly fee report into QuickBooks automatically. Even at home, if I were to, I can talk to my lights. If I mention the cursed Alexa, I can turn on and off my lights at home. All of these things automated, making them automated, working with them, bringing intelligence into it. I'm not going to say that she's intelligent, but she's warning me that my cats need food, or that I'm going to turn off the lights because I noticed you're not at home. So now now technology is coming to that stage. And, we're seeing a lot of that. I think where we're going to where we're going to see is obligations extraction is getting more accurate. Again, World CC reported that humans versus machines were able to notice 98% of these clauses. Human lawyers were only noticing 92%. The human plus the machine hit 100. Wow. So, we're at a point where that sort of technology is really getting around both machine limitations and human limitations.
Got it. So I want to switch gears again. I want to talk about, we heard about how great AI is and the benefits it can deliver. Talk about, I won't say the dark side of AI, but myths around AI. And I just launched a poll. I'm curious to hear, what the audience thinks are the biggest myths regarding AI technology. Definitely let us know in the chat, if a selection isn't there, or your own anecdotal views on myths and AI. What are the myths? I know, or it seems like there's like this narrative out there that, certain companies are promising too much with their solution, and then there's disappointment in that delta of promises and what you can deliver. So I guess tell us about this of AI.
Yeah, I mean, I have, Shai, my story. I have been through that, because the first time before I went with ContractPodAi, and again, I love the product so much as a customer that I joined the company. But prior to that, I was told by another CLM vendor, and I am not a tech unsavvy person. I am a pretty, for those of you who are true dorks, I was an A+ certified at one point. I have no idea what that means anymore, but it meant that I could tell people that I worked for IT. And when I made my first selection, I was sold a bill of goods that didn't exist. Every single thing was being added in later on, even though, in my contract, it said this will be available. Even though it said this would be available, I got told once we were in implementation, oh, that's being developed. We weren't supposed to put that in the contract. Ultimately, there were other issues, and we can go beyond that. But look, make sure you're asking the right questions when you do it. What is the system doing? What is, where are there people involved? For import of old contracts and data verification, there may be an AI plus a person. And again, you're not going to get rid of that person. But from the purchaser's perspective, you want to make sure that they have there's tools, again, Shai, not to mention World CC or Clock or bring in Clock. Clock and World CC both have tools that can help you determine what is needed for your implementation of any CLM. Check to see if, Jackie, you're really beating me to every punch. Check to see what they do in terms of implementation and change management. Change management is actually one of my big topics for the year, because I think one of the areas where a lot of legal technology companies are struggling is not on the technology. We're all doing cool things, and we're all aimed at different segments of the market, but where we're able to assist, what we're actually offering as part of implementation and part of continued support and success management. And go ahead, Shai.
What is change management? I've actually never heard that phrase before.
Sure. So change management is the process of building, bringing an innovation or a new concept to your team. Mm-hmm. So one of the biggest areas that we have to focus on is not always the technology, but often getting people to use it. So, my 2-minute change management you can time me. I'm going to try to bake it this time. 2 minutes on change management. When you're doing this, if you're the internal purchaser, if you're the champion, if you're looking for this, you want to make sure that the vendor you're selecting is also going to work with you on bringing the product and solving the problem of people in your organization. Because you can implement the best tool in the world, ContractPodAi, but if no one will use it, you're not going to be successful. So a lot of change management is explaining what you're doing, delivering little wins so you can achieve the big win. Phased approaches to doing that, and then to implementation, and finally getting people on board, training them, and ensuring that they continually use and improve with the product. So, it's a bit of building your champions, getting rid of detractors or converting them into promoters, getting your training done, determining what the best practice is, but ultimately continuously building this virtuous cycle of we've achieved this, now we're on to this. Okay, we've finished phase 1, now move to phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. And that's really what it is. If you just give people something and say good luck, they're going to go back to their old process. And that's where I think a lot of implementations fail. You could have the greatest technology in the world, but if people aren't using it, if you can't convince people to adopt it, it's just going to get pushed to the wayside, and you'll start getting emails again.
Got it. So that was actually 2 minutes, 13 seconds.
I'm sorry. I should have stopped.
Everybody gets a free year of ContractPodAi. Just kidding.
Let's add an asterisk. Shy can pay for that one.
Yes, on in-house connect. So, okay. So last topic, and then we will, we'll do a little virtual networking. We'll have Q&A. If there's any Q&A, obviously put it in the chat, and either Jerry or I or Jackie will answer. Shout out Jackie. She's the best. I guess, how can AI and legal tech help legal departments today? I know we talked about that a lot. Maybe, I guess we'll summarize it. And I also want to talk about, investments. Like, are legal departments looking to invest more in AI now? I'm going to run a poll. My poll functionality seems to be down, but let me know what you think on that.
So we did talk quite a bit about that earlier, and what we hear is that legal departments are there's this tension between do more with less, as Jackie pointed out just now, and that GCs and legal departments are saying that despite everything, they are increasing their spending on legal technology and will continue to do so. So, and there was something interesting I just read, that in-house budgets have outpaced external counsel budgets for the first time just a few weeks ago. So that we know, and surveys are showing that there's the CLM is the top legal tech investment, legal technology spending is up, and that this is a key investment, AI in general, but also across legal departments as they want to make it bigger. And I think the respondents, from what I'm seeing right now, I won't ruin the poll, but they're reflecting what I hear all the time. Either the budget's there, we're planning on significantly increasing, with a small portion not increasing. And I apologize, I ruined the poll by giving some of the answers away. Really, I think that is a very important point. And what I hear also a lot is risk management is a key part of the technology adoption. Sorry, I choked on my words there. There's these fears of AI-related risks, cybersecurity risk, data privacy risk. What I like to say is, yes, there's going to be risks inherent in every kind of technology. No matter what you do, there's a risk inherent in that. So when you're looking at these things, you want to engage with your vendor to make sure those risks are mitigated. I believe someone said earlier, Lakshay actually asked, is there a data use pattern leak risk in such tools? And that's something that we mitigate, and that you have to make sure the company you go with is mitigating. And you want to make those sound risk practices into your AI selection, your tool selection, your legal technology selection, and understanding what the risks are. All of these are addressable. You're never going to achieve 100% risk mitigation, but working with a vendor that's got good tools, takes good data practices, and knows what they're doing, and that's something that you have to decide on your own as an organization, If you're comfortable and everything's there, they've got the proper audits, they've got the proper teams in place, you're going to be pretty comfortable. If it's someone that says, we are legalai.com and the domain was created yesterday, you may want to take a second look at that.
Yeah. I also, one more word. So a couple of things. Again, just expand on what risk management you mean. It's more than just limitation and liability, or is that what it is?
Sure. So we can look at it as three ways. There are three ways we look at that, or at least I look at that. There's our risk management tools, which tell you where, based on certain things you've told us to look for with the product, this is how we are going to identify them, flag them, and score them for you. You told us, and it could be any clause, believe it or not, Shai. It doesn't have to be, we could do this with practically any clause that you think is going to be a problem or could be a risk or could be at issue, and tell you how close it is, how risky it is, whether there's something that can come there. Risk management more generally is the job of the legal department. You may have a chief risk officer, you may have other people there, but ultimately all of our goals is to protect our companies or organizations, wherever we work, our clients or our teams internally. We want to reduce that risk, but we don't want to get into that idea of, you don't want to start thinking, can I eliminate all risk? No, we would all be walking around with bubble wrap all over us all the time if we knew there was a way to really eliminate all risk by doing that. And then I think there's kind of this third idea in there, which is the risk management, not just from a legal standpoint, but from the reputational standpoint, the loss of data. And again, that's where you have to go and look at all that information together. But when we say we assist with risk management or that, we're trying to help you make better decisions. We are not telling you that the AI is absolutely 100% correct in every single situation. Going back to that need for humans involved, it's not a standalone thing. It's not a standalone tool that operates in a vacuum. It is an assistive technology. It is an augmentation to your current human being. Anna Fresca just asked, is there any kind of liability for an AI system missing something that an attorney relies on? Or is it all the responsibility of the attorney as with the human to ensure all accuracy, even with AI? And that's a really good question. I would say you want to make sure your tool is accurate, but you're never going to ever want to put everything onto that tool. It's just not possible. And also you're going to violate an ethical rule if you do that. I mean, there's no ethics CLE here, but you are ultimately responsible as the lawyer to make sure that that what you're telling your client, your company, your organization is correct. So and by the way, just to be clear, we don't give it to you in a vacuum. It's not like it says, hey, we found this clause. You're looking at that in context. You're looking at that with highlights. You're looking at that with visual cues to make sure that you're reading that correctly. And also, it's not just finding one clause, it's looking at the context, and at least with ContractPodAi, we look at context. You might have 3 or 4 different limitations of liability, maybe more. We're going to try to find them all and give you that information so that you can make a better decision ultimately as a client of ours, but also as an attorney.
Got it. So I'm going to pause right here. If there are questions, please put it in the chat. I have the results 0 to 25%. I should have broken it down and said, is it 0? Or I guess there is no investment, but it looks like the majority are looking to increase their budget a little bit. Then, and then actually the vast majority of people be looking to increase their budget in some way, shape, or form, which is really, really good news to hear. Maybe at my company too, one day I will increase our budget or get a budget. Stay tuned for that. So again, if you have further questions, put it in the chat. In the meantime, I just want to thank you, Jerry, for an engaging, informative, entertaining chat on AI, on the prospect of AI, on the promise of AI for legal departments. So it looks like there's no more questions.